Hello everyone, this is Matthew once again, and today is December the 23rd, so we're like 2 days away till Christmas, and I'm definitely excited for Christmas. I really love Christmas, and now, as we're in the month of December, and I'm sorry it has been quite a while since I did say I was going to review some Christmas movies, but now, I finally am, but now I'm going to review 4 Christmas movies this week, but for right now, I'm going to review 2 for today, and I'll review the other 2 tomorrow on Christmas Eve. Because on December 25th, I just want to enjoy my Christmas without having to post any videos or all that sort of thing. So for right now, let's get right to it, shall we? As you know, pull this out here from this box that I have right here, the Home Alone 2-pack collection that contains the first 2 movies. I have done a review of the first Home Alone movie, which I really love. It's a classic Christmas movie. I love the story. I love Kevin McAllister, played by Macaulay Culkin, as well as Harry and Marv, played by Joe Pesci, David Stern. John Williams' unforgettable score, a well-written script by John Hughes, and directed by Chris Columbus, and definitely a Christmas classic. It has a good heart to it, and leaves you with a good feeling at the end. Really love this movie. I have watched it on last Sunday, just to correct that, and still love this movie. And still, of course, once again, as I did in my review, I gave it an A+. If you have not seen my review of the first Home Alone movie, please feel free to check that out. But now, let's move on to a sequel that, well, it's by no means the worst sequel of all time, but it's definitely not up there with the first movie, which of course is understandable, but if you want to see bad Home Alone sequels, watch 3 and 4. The 5th one, I don't even bother. I'm reviewing, my friends, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Once again, starring Macaulay Culkin alongside with Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, returning as Kevin McAllister, Harry and Marv, which you get Tim Curry as the hotel manager, as well as Brendan Fricker, who plays the bird pigeon lady. And you have the parents, John, Harry, Kathy, and Harry reprise the roles. You have Roger Gosnell, who would edit the film again after editing the first Home Alone movie, which of course he'll go on to direct Home Alone 3, which is his first film, but that's a whole different topic. And you have John Williams returning doing the music, John Hughes writing and producing the sequel, and Chris Columbus directing again the sequel. So now, of course, I did grow up with this movie when I was a kid, and that was like the first Home Alone movie I ever owned on tape before I even owned the first movie. Or should I say, my brothers and I owned this one first before we owned the first one, as well as the third one. And you want to know, what do I think of this film? And before I do that, here's the backstory, and you are going to be blown away by this first trivia news. The film itself, before John Hughes wrote the script for Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, a 12-year-old named Greg Sestero actually wrote his own version for Home Alone 2, where Kevin McAllister gets lost in Disney World and teams up with his neighbor, who teams up to take down with the Web Bandits. And of course, John Hughes did the script by Greg Sestero, which of course, Hughes gave him an inspiring note, which led Sestero into acting and writing. And of course, you may know Greg Sestero. He was the guy who played Mark in The Room with, of course, his best friend, Tommy Wiseau. And of course, these two will work together in a new film called Best Friends, Volume 1 and 2. Which I find it very interesting, because I didn't know the actor from The Room will write a sequel to Home Alone, which I find very interesting. And if possible, maybe I would have liked to read his draft for Home Alone 2, where he gets lost in Disney World, because that would be really something. But of course, yeah, the film itself was sort of based on that concept, except that they changed it from Disney World to New York. And of course, the McAllister family, of course, like in the movie, they do get separated, but of course, instead of that, the family goes to Florida, but for Kevin, he goes to New York. And of course, the film, believe it or not, yes, it does feature a cameo of Donald Trump, who will later become president of the United States. So, I don't mean to get y'all fired about that, since we know Donald Trump's the president, but hey. And I don't want to talk about anyone's politics, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, so not really important to talk about, so let's just move on. And the film itself, of course, was tying it to McDonald's Happy Meal toy commercial products, which of course it did well successfully, more so than Batman Returns, because that film did not do well because of its dark nature. And both of those films came out the same year, 1992. And the audio commentary track of the first Home Alone movie, if you own this on DVD or Blu-ray, Columbus admitted that this film is to somewhat, in a think, a remake of this film. Which, of course, if you watch this and this, the only difference is it takes place in New York, but of course, it still has some similarities to the first film. Which, I can understand the criticism of that film, and I'll go into more detail about it. So, the film itself was released on November 20th, 1992, as it received not very good reviews by critics, but it did pretty well at the box office as it made like $173.5 million against its $20 million budget. Not successful as the first movie, but it made a decent amount of profit. And of course, the film itself gained no Oscar nominations whatsoever, but the film itself remains divided by fans and non-fans alike. So, Home Alone 2, as much as I understand the similarities of the first film, I still enjoy it. I mean, I think it's a solid sequel, especially for being a Christmas movie. It doesn't do anything new or different with it, which I could totally understand that, and this might turn everyone off that they want something totally new or different. I get it. Even, of course, I'm not sure if you buy this, but my brother Jonathan actually did tell me about his version of the sequel, as if, what if Harry and Marv team up with Kevin McAllister, where they're sort of like becoming like good guys, and of course Tim Curry himself will only be the main villain, and maybe take place in a hotel or something, and that's something what my brother would have preferred. And as much as I respect my brother's opinion on that, I totally understand that and might be interesting, but at the same time, I'm perfectly fine for what it is. So I actually wasn't bothered by it due to the similarities of the first film. And I do like it takes place in New York. I really am glad to get that Christmas feeling again, like the first Home Alone movie. It doesn't have much of an emotional impact as the first movie, but it still has some nice moments in the film. And I thought the performances by Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern really did a good job in the film. And of course, he still has a charisma for being a good child actor. And Tim Curry, of course, he was definitely a lot of fun. I thought the parents did really good, and the rest of the cast did well. And Brendan Fricker is again like Robert Blossom, but does a really good job for playing the pigeon lady. And the music by John Williams is really good, and the movie itself is funny, and yeah, there were some moments that don't work due to the film's comedy. And Chris Columbus does a solid job of directing the film, and John Hughes did a fine job writing the sequel, despite that I'm seeing some familiarity from the first film. It could be enough to be more of its own thing, but hey, what do I know? But if you don't like Home Alone 2, that's totally fine. I mean, you don't have to agree with me. We can agree to disagree, but I do enjoy it for what it is. I mean, I don't know what else can I say about Home Alone 2, but it has plenty of good humor, good traps that are set up at the end of the start after the film, great performances, especially from Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, great music by John Williams, solid direction and writing, and definitely has that Christmas feeling. Some jokes don't work. It is, in fact, like Chris Columbus says, he admits it's somewhat, I think, a remake of the first film due to its similarities, which is understandable. But I really enjoy Home Alone 2. I don't know what else I can say about it, but hey, maybe y'all could defend the sequel a lot more than I do, but I just think it's a solid movie. And I don't mind watching it, especially around Christmas time. So, it's not as good as the first, but it's by no means a bad movie. Of course, people could say that this film didn't need to exist or didn't need to be turned to a franchise, which that's another thing I can understand that. But at the same time, I don't mind when you're doing a sequel to something that's already been done before. When this film was like a lightning in the bottle, it had a great premise, a great idea. It was a perfect premise with a perfect setup, with great characters, fantastic humor, and definitely has a heart and emotional impact, and definitely one of the best Christmas of all time. Which is true, of course, and understandable, but I can still watch this movie. It's not the first movie, but I don't think it's a bad film. And the runtime itself, I know it's like 120 minutes long, but I never find this movie really boring. But of course, the first movie itself, it was timed out to get a good amount of pace of the film, because I know that while I was watching the length of the first movie, there were other scenes they filmed, but mostly the one to focus on is Macaulay Culkin. because the audience wanted to be with him rather than be with the other characters. And it showed, because you want to be with Kevin McAllister and you want to go along with that ride. And this one here, I think, is the exact same thing. You want to follow Kevin McAllister to New York, but yeah. So, I really enjoyed Home Alone 2. It may have similarities to the first film, but it is an enjoyable movie. Because all you want to see is Kevin McAllister being Kevin McAllister, just have fun with it, and enjoy what he likes to do when he's all by himself as he were a grown man, and still take down the bad guys who are trying to take him down, but of course, he sets up booby traps, and still give you that Christmas feeling. And that's all you get out of this film. It's not as powerful or as emotional as the first movie, but it's a solid Christmas flick. And for my rating for Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, I'm going to give it a B. It's not as good as the first movie. I totally understand that, but I don't think it's a bad film. So, there you go, folks. It's like close to put this up. This concludes my review of the first two Home Alone movies. The first movie will always be a classic, and the second one, it's understandable. It is similar to the first movie, and it is understandable that it didn't need to exist, but I really don't mind doing a sequel, especially if it's done well. And I think Home Alone 2 is probably fine that it's the only sequel that needs to exist, whereas 3, 4, 5, I could care less. So, if you have not seen the first two Home Alone movies with Macaulay Culkin in it, check it out. I really enjoy both of them. I like the second one, but the first one, without doubt, will always be the best. So, there you go. That's my review of Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, and let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Feel free to put your comments down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Take care, and now, next up here is a movie I want to review to celebrate for its 30th anniversary. As we have one man who goes into a tower full of employees until a group of terrorists will take all hostages, but one man has to save everyone, as well as making this probably one of the best, if not the best, Christmas action movie of all time. Die Hard. And that's coming up next. See ya.